typical customer on a fall day at the winery will be two couples, mom and pop, late 60s, their daughter and their new son-in-law. And the new son-in-law is from California or someplace, and he's a wine expert. Well, we'll collar him as quickly as we can and get him tasting the Cabernets or the Rieslings or what have you, and get him to explain, wow, you make this here? This is great. Meanwhile, we've got mom over on the other side, and she's tasting maybe a Vidal or maybe the Liebestropfen or something a little sweeter. What's our sale? Well, let's say 2 bottles of Riesling and a bottle of Cab to the young man, and a case of Liebestropfen to mom. My father started the winery in 1961, and my grandfather started growing grapes here back in 1912, 1911.
And when I tell people about the farm and the winery, I tell them if they remember the number 3, it helps, because there are 3 generations of Johnsons, the first having bought the farm, the second who started the winery, and now this 3rd generation that owns it today. And each of those can be represented by different grapes. American grapes with the first Mr. Johnson, and French hybrid with the founder of the winery, and now Vitis Vinifera with the 3rd generation.
Is that the focus these days, the Vitis Vinifera?
We do 2 things, and it's an interesting market here in Western New York. Yes, for the higher end market we focus on Riesling and Gewürztraminer or Trinidad, the white German style Vitis Vineferas, and we have probably the best growing area in the world, or certainly equal to any growing area in the world for that, here with Lake Erie right on our door. But we're also very proud to do what we call American heirloom wines well, which are the sweet, fruity, 1850s, 1880s style wines. One we call Liebestropfen, which is little love drops. One is just Ives, which is a very dark red, juicy wine. They sell very well in this area, and so we're happy to do both. In terms of Labrusca versus Vinifera, we think of building up our area and the people who live here and shop here, and both markets are important. The Vinifera market's growing faster, but the Labrusca market's bigger, at least for New York State wine. So we do both.
The other advantage I think we've had is being a winery that's going to be celebrating its 50th birthday, and from the fact that Fred's father established the winery with the understanding that he was going to sell a lot of juice or bulk wine to others, meant that we didn't have to plan very specifically to market a particular kind of wine, because they were growing enough kinds of grapes so that if you found success in the dry varieties, then that's what you kept in the winery and didn't sell outside of the winery in terms of juice or grapes. But to illustrate, we have 110 acres of vineyards, and about 12 or 13 years ago when Fred's father died, about half the grapes from the estate were used in the winery and the other half were sold off estate. Now we're at about
75–80% go into the winery.
So we've had the luxury all these years of being able to pick what we want and be able to take care of them and prune them in the way that would best suit the winery.
How far have you come with people looking around for low yields, a lot of tough pruning, and improving the quality of the taste? How far along have you come in that?
Well, from our
we do it here all the time.
Is that what you're always
we do it here all the
looking
time. And I mean, right behind me, I don't know if you can, those are all Seyval, and we make a beautiful wine out of that which will compete against the Sauvignon Blanc any day. But the grapes we grow for the winery are irrigated, not only pruned hard, but more importantly defruited hard after they flower.
Depending on the set rate and the year. But.
Right. So we're taking those down to 4 tons to the acre, and we're irrigating them, so we get those grapes exactly the way we want them for our uses. Father started the winery almost exactly 50 years ago, it'll be 50 years ago next year. And at that time, he was one of the first planters of the French-American hybrids, because no one was planting Vitis Vinifera. Our friends at Dr. Frank were the first people to plant Vitis Vinifera here 40-odd years ago, down in the Finger Lakes. So we're the oldest farm or estate winery in the state of New York. That if you call it an estate wine, the process has to be under the ownership and control of one entity. so you control the process from, as they say, from bud to bottle. And frankly, in winemaking, if you don't control the grape growing, it's really hard to determine what kind of wine you're going to come out with.